A machine cannot have a brain, yet it can have a memory. In that memory, one could put the rules of grammar, and then one could use that machine's memory of grammar to turn out stories. How is it that humans can be so willing to relinquish the one thing that is fundamentally human, the art of storytelling? Creativity and storytelling are divine manifestations granted to human beings. The ability to relay a story is a recorded part of history since creation. Yet, many are quick to give the task up to chatbots. Hello. Its use is encouraged in higher education spaces from undergraduate to graduate level programs. But what happens when we rely on generative AI to write stories and other ideas? Is there anything that we can do to combat it? I believe that there is, but it's not what you're expecting. Welcome to Bookish Dialogues. I'm Tabitha. Here on this channel, we grab a warm drink, a cozy chair, and have deep conversations. We explore stories, books, and culture through the lens of faith, creativity, and a life with Christ. Today, we're going to be talking about the problem AI brings to humanity and what to do about it. If that interests you, then get cozy, stay inspired, and stick around. In a world dominated by fast-paced convenience, surely headed for the axiom, writers are turning to generative AI bots to speed the process along. In an article published by BookBub in May of 2025, 1,200 plus authors were asked what they think or how they think about AI, and the results showed a nearly 50-50 split between those who use AI and those who don't. Of those who use AI in their writing process, it was around 30% that use it strictly for writing their book. But the majority of AI writers use it at some point in the writing process, from research to plotting, editing, and proofreading, all the way to marketing and copy for the book. But what does AI do to us, to humanity? Does it make us better writers, creators, or humans? Or is something sinister happening? LLMs, or language learning models, machines, are a relatively new commodity given to the general public. While companies like Google and Meta have been researching and acquiring AI companies and products since the 2010s, the software wasn't widely available or used until OpenAI released ChatGPT 3.5 in late 2022. And remember this because at the time I was working on my master's degree. And I remember receiving an email from my university expressing the pro-Gen AI stance that the university was having. And they were going so far as to implement it into courses and in the curriculum. So what they started to do is to require students to write a design statement at the end of a writing assignment. And in that design statement, the students will disclose if what was used to create that writing assignment. If any AI was used, they can say it and without penalty, and how AI was used. Well, I'm not one for AI. We'll get to that as the video goes on. But I will say that this idea of a design statement disclosing whether or not AI is used would be helpful in destigmatizing the use of AI. And why I think we should destigmatize the use of AI is not to encourage people to use it. I don't like AI, at least generative AI, to create novels and screenplays and even art or the other things that people are using generative AI to do. But I do think that allowing people to not feel the shame of using AI will encourage them to relinquish the information that whatever it was used by AI. And then we as consumers can decide if we want to buy or support somebody who uses AI. The main character of today's video is Salem. If this picture doesn't give you fall vibes, what will? Now I bring this I bring up the idea of destigmatizing using AI because in that same study from BookBub, majority of the people who used AI did not disclose that any AI was used. And I'm pretty sure they don't do it because of the shame and the consumer reaction that happens when you use AI. People are not for it. With good reason, I think. But we're not for it. And so they don't give that information out. If we destigmatize it, again, it would help those who use AI on a project be more forthcoming with the information. Now, the purpose of those design statements was to allow students the opportunity to offer that information up, that AI was used at some point, if any, in the creation of their essay. Now, should students be found to have used AI and not disclose that information, it's going to be the same as plagiarism. Down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Who is this
AI? What does AI do to our brains? We already know, because we've had the internet for a while, that internet use as a whole has created disorders and addictions in humans. In fact, the WHO have internet use disorder or an internet addiction, and I'm sure we will soon have the same classification for smartphones. Think about how addictive your smartphone is, how addictive your social media is in wrapping around what you do with your time and how it affects your ability to get something done. But now let's step that up. How much more addictive will we find AI to be when we've had the time to truly study it in depth? Now, a study did come out from MIT in June of 2025. It was a small study, but it was really just to get the ball rolling on larger studies. What they did was they looked at brain activities of students who used ChatGPT for essay writing. They did this by separating students into 3 groups. There was the AI group, the brain group, and a search engine group. And I can't tell you much about the search engine group because it didn't say much about them, but for the other 2, for the Gen AI and the brain group, for the first 3 essays, participants used either exclusively. So either they used their ChatGPT to write the essay exclusively, or they used their own brain to write the essay exclusively. So they did that 3 times. And then on the 4th time, they switched. What they found was that the brain activity of humans is significantly scaled down with the amount of external support used. Simply put, it showed that extensively using chatbots slows down our brain's ability to recall information, to think critically, and to form neural pathways. Now, the finding of this study is not unexpected in my personal view, because in recent years, there's been studies that have come out just looking at the effects of digital media and its use on the brain. One study was published in the Dialogues of Clinical Neuroscience in 2020 on the NIH website, and it found that digital use and smartphone use changes our brain's makeup. When looking at developing minds and screen use within this study, they looked at sort of 2 different groups. The first group was adults who played the Pokemon game or one of the Pokemon games intensely while they were growing up. And the images of those games are, in a way, imprinted in the adults' brains, which is crazy to me. But then they also looked at preschoolers and the use of preschoolers using screen time. Okay? So from the Pokemon, they found those lasting effects. And with the preschoolers, they used EEGs to examine their brains to see what was happening, and they found that it showed a decrease in microstructural integrity of white matter tracks, which leads to poorer health and structural organizations of myelinated nerve fibers that connect different brain regions. These are necessary for effective communication and coordination, and they're crucial for executive functioning, information processing speed, and cognitive function as a whole. So if these are bad, we have poor outcome in language and behavioral problems, which should be very familiar to you if you have spent any time with the majority of the younger generation. Now, digital use is TV, tablet, smartphone, computer, all those things being used on developing minds. We know this stuff for the things that we have had for a few decades now. What we have no idea on is what Gen AI is going to truly do to the developing mind. We have no idea. And yet, we are encouraging students to use it in their schoolwork. And yet, we are allowing students the opportunity to interact with Gen AI at very young ages. And yet, we are letting students be on social media sites that are full of content created by AI chatbots that are getting to a point where they don't look fake anymore. You can't look at the hands. You can't look at the hands anymore, okay? To know if the picture is AI generated or not. That is scary. Let's go back in time when we were first given access to the internet. We were told that we would have the world's knowledge at our fingertips, and the dot-com bubble brought new opportunities for businesses and individuals. Now you can get paid to talk to a camera and post it on the internet, and that was never a thing before. But we weren't created to have this much access and knowledge as we have now. It is baffling to me that our social media feeds are flooded with assassinations and soft porn. And what's even more startling is the number of children having this access to this type of content. And now we're adding in the AI generated content. AI is not helping us. The models present information as fact, even when it's a hallucination. It will die on that hill. At the bottom of every chat box, it has this disclaimer about how so-and-so bot is known to make mistakes, so check the information. Something around there. I mean, just a few weeks ago, we saw on TikTok what happens when someone fully relies on Henry, sorry. It's a psychosis. We've seen AI take over human-to-human interactions and how deadly it turns out. The case of Sewell Seltzer III, or the case of the Belgian man known as Pierre, as well as other cases. And if you don't know, those two specific cases, both of them had some sort of intimate relationship with a chat box and eventually started to encourage them to join them in paradise until they did. Okay, so there are other cases like that, and more are coming out, and I'm sure it's just going to be a commonality if we continue on down this track. But do you remember Michelle Carter from 2019? She encouraged her boyfriend to end his life, and he did, and then she was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter because she encouraged him to take his life, and he did. So if we're going to hold humans to that kind of outcome for encouraging death, why not the machines that do it, or the creators of those machines? Because we can kill the machines. We can just pull their plug, or we can have the creators face time in jail, because the way that they've created it, chatbots are yes men. They will answer with whatever is the most likely answer that the prompter is seeking. So if the prompter is seeking ways to hurt themselves, although there is like community guidelines saying that self-harm or harming others is not appropriate in the chat, and I don't know specific, like fully how well ChatGPT 5 fleshes that out, but it's not the only one. There are other types of chatbots out there. Now, AI is still new. We as consumers have the power to decide how it continues. We can decide if we want to live in a world where we give up our humanity to machines, or where we're in a world that's actually bettering humanity. Now, I do need to take a minute to reiterate that I am talking specifically about generative AI. There are AI models that live in your phone, that live in your car, and other electronics. Um, I'm not talking about those. This is specifically generative AI bots like ChatGPT, Claude.ai, Gemini, Copilot. There are other ones too that are AI chats for a variety of interests like Replica and Nomi, as well as specialized AI sites to write full-length novels and screenplays. Pseudo-write, Novelist AI, Scribbler, Novel Crafter, AI Book Creator Pro or Max AI, just to name a few. You saw my previous video about the problem of marketing your book on TikTok, then you would know that I see one of the reasons there are so many aspiring authors is more from the desire and the promise to make a six-figure income from books. But I don't believe that many of them truly love the craft of writing. I do believe that if you're going to use AI to write your book, then you're proving my opinion. We could have a whole video on the digital marketing scam, which is basically the internet's MLM in a way, um, where you sell this digital marketing course. And nearly all of them, I can't say that fully, but I can be pretty sure nearly all of them, they're going to tell you to make a product. And all you need to do is to put a prompt in ChatGPT. It can write the whole thing for you. Then you take that, copy, paste it over to a pre-made template in Canva. And then bing, bang, boom, you got whatever product it was. Now you can sell it for $67 and make a bunch of money. Yay, that's all we care about is AI slopping money. Cannot deal with it anymore. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Writing is a difficult trade to do, simply because it requires discipline. We live in a world of convenience, a world that expects to get what we want when we want it. I do understand the allure and the siren song of using AI for the beginning of your book. Though you might have the thought that you need help organizing your idea. But before you know it, you've used the bot to write one part of your book, and then another part of your book, and then another part of your book. There is this addictive thrill of using the bot, but it's not helping you, I promise. Think back to the MIT study I mentioned earlier. We know that using bots extensively decreases your ability to think critically, meaning you will join the ones who have accidentally left a prompt in their book. You don't want that. You're also looking at the possibility of lacking a depth of knowledge of your book, of the story that you published, because of your lack of involvement in the writing process. Let's be very honest about this. Writing a prompt is different than writing prose. Do I need to say that again? Because I will. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Writing a prompt is different than writing prose. I'm not trying to be an elitist on writing, but ask yourself, if you use AI to write your book, are you truly proud of it? Or is it just another forgotten title that made you a few bucks? Do you really want to be tied to AI slop? The only way to have anything remotely good come out of a chatbot is to do a lot of upfront work to use in the prompt, or through an extensive editing phase. Why would you want to waste the time and energy? Now, again, that's only if you want something good. If you just want a book, you just want something to sell, please choose something else to do, because I am tired of having crappy authors, crappy indie self-publishing authors degrading the craft because you want to make some money. And traditional publishers aren't going to take your book because they don't really want to use AI, but they also don't want to be left behind. So they're kind of figuring out what they're doing with AI stuff. But beside that, nobody wants to read your crap, okay? No one wants to read tropey, terrible stories. I don't know if you're wondering this about how I know about bots, like the use of them, how to get something good at them. And the truth is, I have used AI for writing. Remember back when I was writing my capstone, it was really encouraged for us to use it, so I tried it for the research phase. But beyond that, I used it. I used to work as an independent contractor for an AI company as a AI content writer and reviewer in creative writing. So I do have firsthand knowledge on how the AI bots, to an extent, are getting the information that answers your questions. And it's us. It's human beings, because human beings are the only ones who can really tell stories. Tell good, great stories that are captivating, that invoke emotion and create connections and understanding and teach lessons, right? It's just humanity. Now, at the beginning of the video, I asked if there was anything that we could do to combat AI and what it is doing to us, as well as the other forms of technology that we deal with. Now, before I get to my solution, a few disclaimers. Firstly, I've yet to fully flesh out the idea to be able to offer to those who have physical limitations. I'm sorry for that. If you have a way of doing it, then put it down below in the comments. And secondly, I am not some crunchy technology hating almond mom, I swear, though some of my views might make it seem like I am. I swear I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I am simply somebody who believes that everything has a proper place and an order and that it should be rightly controlled, but I'm also not a type A. I'm more type C kind of mom. I promise. I'm not very rigid. But again, and it'll make more sense in just a minute. I do believe that everything has a proper place and order. Thinking about that, if technology, that is digital media and AI, is making our brain function at less than an optimal state, then it's out of order. And it's not in its proper place. So we need to put it back in order, put it back in the proper place of our lives. Now, I'm sorry, but the solution that I have to offer you is going to require discipline and stamina. But the outcome is far greater than anything you've accomplished in your creative pursuits. You're gonna have to slow down. If you watched my Lilith Letters video, you'll kind of maybe know what my solution is. Simply, it's going back to longhand. This is specifically for writing. Now, that means putting an actual pen or pencil to a paper. I can hear your thoughts. You're archaic. You're insane. I assure you I'm neither of those, as far as I can tell. There are some findings that show longhand aids in memory, critical thinking, and overall brain function. You know, all those things that AI and technology are taking away from us. Yeah, it gives it back to us and then some. In my personal experience, I find longhand enjoyable. I tend to write in cursive. It's just easier for me. I'm always eager to get back to writing. I think more freely and creatively, and I don't have to go back to remember what I wrote because I already remember it. Since I'm not looking at a blue light screen, I'm not really fatigued from my work, which is great. And another bonus is I am able to work wherever and not be a distraction. An example of this would be when I am in our schoolroom to do school with my children. Usually it's after the youngest two have finished and I'm just with the oldest. I can bring my book into the room and work on my writing while he's finishing up whatever workbook he's doing on his own, and he's not distracted by my laptop. It's wonderful. I can also go around town with it. It weighs much less than my laptop does. It's less cumbersome. I can do it wherever and I don't have to worry about what it's doing to my body or anything like that. It's nice. It's easy. No, it doesn't remove technology though. I mean, not completely. You still have to type the work that you do. I have to type my script out for this video so that I can have it for any slides that I might use or my teleprompter. And yes, I use a teleprompter. This is a lot to remember, okay? And I know it sort of seems like listen, it's ironic that I can't remember it all, and it doesn't. Yes, I use a teleprompter because my brain, it jumbles around. So I use a teleprompter. It helps me keep things straight. Now, for my books, I have to type them for publication, but it doesn't bother me. It actually helped me to remember the writing phases, because when I was younger, I would type up my papers and essays, and for the most part, they were just the first draft that I sent in, because there was this psychological thing going on when I would type where it needed to be, the text on the screen needed to be as perfect as it could be the first go round. I don't really have that problem when writing longhand because I am free to make mistakes. I can erase it easier. I can scribble it or write another thing over here, or just be free and messy and write whatever comes into my mind, which is not so with typing on a computer of any sort. So my first solution for writers is try writing out longhand. It doesn't have to be anything like, you don't have to start with just a novel. With a novel, I should say. I would recommend maybe trying to write a letter or reflection journal, just to get your discipline and stamina back up and get it into the routine, get yourself into the routine of writing every day. My routine is I wake up in the morning, I go into my studio, read my Bible, and then I work. I write a part of the book that I'm currently working on, and then I've got it finished and done. And one of the cool things about it is I can see how much I've written. I have a physical, a tangible example that I have done some work. I can see it. Like when I was typing my books, I just saw I had to keep track of word count in order to be sure that I got anything done. Now I don't feel that kind of pressure, which is great. When it comes to using I encourage you to think critically about what it's doing to you and your fellow humans. I encourage you to ask yourself if there is a better way for you to connect to your humanity and your creativity. Sure, there is the route of convenience of using chatbots to shoot things out into the world and make a few quick bucks. And if that's what you want to do, well, we do live in a free country. I will maybe slightly judge you for it, and I might make a video about how bad it is, depending on what God leads me to do. But you have the ability to choose the route of using AI for your writing, or you can choose the slow-paced route. It doesn't necessarily have to be longhand, though I would encourage you to, at the very least, try it out for a short story, a novella, at least something that allows you to hone in on the craft of writing, to take your time to create a truly good story and fall in love with the story that you write, so that when it comes time to publish it, you know it's a good story, you know what it's about, and you can market it well. You can be proud of the work that you've done, even if nobody else is, because you know that you did the work. Okay? So there's the way of convenience and there's the slow pace route. Which one are you going to choose? Well, that is all I have for today. This is an ever-growing topic, so I'm sure there will be other videos. If you are interested in discussions like this that are around stories, books, and culture through the lens of faith, creativity, and a life with Christ, well then hit that subscribe button, baby. Let me know what let me know what your thoughts are down below. Do you have another solution for us when it comes to the AI problem? As always, get cozy, stay inspired, and stick around. We'll read again soon.